So in my high school, there is this teacher named Mr. Mills, and he was an asshole. Like, he was the biggest asshole teacher you could have ever had. He would, like, if you wrote something in pencil and like turned it in, he would give it back to you and make you redo the whole thing in pen twice. Like, he was a dick. And so one weekend he went out of town as a teacher, and something you shouldn't do if you're an asshole. And so he had a son named Gibson. Now, at the time, Gibson was a sophomore. So Mr. Mills had his kid in high school, like at his high school. And so he went out of town one weekend, and Gibson had this idea to throw a party. And it okay, let me explain something to you about the Mills family. Mr. Mills had been this veteran from some war, and I wasn't Vietnam, and it wasn't Korea. Actually, it might have been Vietnam. It might have been Vietnam. No, that's way too late. No, he wasn't a veteran from a specific war. He was just a veteran, and he wasn't like placed in like, he was on active duty, but he wasn't actually like in a war, if that makes sense. And so that's not the point of the story. And his wife was a lawyer, but like a really good lawyer. Like, if you ever had a problem, you go to this lawyer first. And so like, she was like a really good lawyer, and so she made most of the money in the house, and she actually made a pretty good amount of money. She made a good amount of money for like for these type of people, not necessarily for me, but for these type of people, it was a good amount of money. Well, for the average person, it was a good amount of money. And so, like, they had a somewhat nice house in a somewhat nice neighborhood, and it was a somewhat of a good size, enough to fit a lot of people in there. And so we all got word that Gibson was going to throw this party. He was kind of known as the teacher's kid, and he wasn't exactly known as like this big like party kind of guy, but we all had like seen him at a couple parties, but he wasn't like like a big party guy, if that makes sense. And so we all collectively decided that everybody should go to this party. And naturally, Gibson thought that this was the coolest thing in the world. He didn't have to tell everybody that he was having a party or if someone was going to show up, because everybody had already made the decision to go. And it's a wonder that Mills didn't figure this out when, like before he left town, because like we were all talking about it at school, and that's like where he works. So he should have figured this out, but he didn't. And so he didn't figure this out, and so we all, went to this party. And when I got there, it was like, I want to say 10 when I got there. The whole thing though was, actually that's a lie, I got there like 9:30. But the whole thing was that I was gonna drive there, and the deal was, because the guy that usually we pressure into drunk driving, being our designated driver, was a big pussy, so we could pressure him into doing it. But today, that night, he said he wasn't gonna do it. But so I told him that he could pregame with everybody else, and I would drive there, and then I will just start drinking when we get there, and he has to drive home. And so that's the deal that we had made. So we drove my car there, and he was going to drive my car home. And at the time, this was my first car, and it was like a Honda Accord. And it was a silver Honda Accord. It was actually kind of, no, it wasn't like cool. Anyway, the point is, I kind of liked it for some. It was really good, I guess. I don't know. First car, everybody likes their first car. Not always, but that's not the fucking point. So the whole thing was, we got there, and then I take out a flask out of my pocket, and I start drinking in the flask, like as we're like pulling in like to the area, we're pulling in, like we're getting to our spot, and at the same time I'm opening a flask with one hand. And so I start drinking it before we get in there, and then I take out another one, and I'm just gonna drink that one by the time we get in, but on the way in. And we can kind of hear the general party going on, and it wasn't necessarily we heard music, we heard people. And that's a lot, it's a lot different at like a high school party than you would think, because usually it's music blasting that you hear, but at this one it was people blasting. And normally at a lot of parties, like there's like the person having the party like turns off all the lights in the house because somehow people think that darkness is what we want, and like we have to use like our phones to see around. Like the parties need to be well, not like well lit, but they need to be lit well. And kids in high school don't get this. So like, but all the lights were on, like all the lights in the house were on, and I got in there, and there were just people drinking. They were just drinking insane amounts. Even for me, like I would call like insane amounts of beer. There were 2 kegs there. There was 3 beer bongs. I saw just in the front room 3 people doing each their own beer bong. Like right when you walked in, you see 2 kegs. There's a ping pong table that had been brought up from a basement, and there is a game of beer pong going on over there. And there, also you can like in the kitchen you can see there's people like taking shots and then passing the bottle and like taking pulls and shots at the same time. So that's going on, and I was like, holy shit, we need to stay here. And so then I start to notice that people are like getting really like, you know, fuck shit up mode. And it's because we all hated this teacher. And so the first thing that someone did was someone actually broke the sink. Like that was the step number 1, and everything went wrong. There was like their bathroom on the downstairs level was the one that they always use for guests. It's like the main bathroom for like guests, and so it's like the nicer one. And there was actually 4 kids in there doing lines of cocaine. They were setting them like they were doing them off an iPad, and but they put the iPad like on like the sink, kind of, if that makes sense, like on kind of like the edge. And this one kid finished his line. He put both hands on the edge of the sink and went woo, and he pushed down and like put all of his weight behind the sink, and he actually broke the sink off the wall. And that was sign number 1 that this party was either going to be legendary, awesome, or downright destructive for everyone involved. It was a mixture of all 3 actually. And so the next thing I noticed is that beer pong table. Some kid like calls like the attention of everyone, and he dunks the beer. He dunks the ping pong. He dunks it, and the table, the second like he hit it, the second he put like any weight, it just went and just gave and just went boom and just collapsed under everything. And so there's solo cups everywhere. There are, there's beer flying everywhere. The kid is now like standing up, jumping up and down on what's left of the table. And meanwhile, I'm like, holy shit. And at this point, I'm working on my 3rd flask of, I was drinking Maker's Mark, if I remember correctly, which I don't remember much. And so now it's like a half hour later, and someone has broken the sink, someone has broken the ping pong table, and he had these cool like theater chairs, and people were jumping onto those chairs like they were jumping off the Titanic, like leg first, just like kicking them, like doing like drop kicks on them, and they were just destroying things in this house. Meanwhile, Gibson is going crazy about all this, and someone actually takes him and locks him in the basement, and because they were worried he was going to call cops, and they don't want to call cops because no one wants that. And then another person goes into his bedroom, and actually this was actually my friend. His name is Clint. He was one of the guys doing cocaine in the room. He was doing cocaine. He was doing lines of cocaine and just drinking, like handles at a time. Obviously, he didn't have more than one handle. Okay, but you know what I'm saying. He's just like drinking drinks by the handle. And he pulls down he steps like onto the bed, like on the edge of the bed. He pulls down his pants, and you see him make this face. And then just this log of shit falls onto the bed, and I have never seen a log of shit not fall into water before, and I was terrified and so many different emotions, but it was hilarious mainly. And then now the party has moved down into the basement because Gibson's freaking out, and so the music gets turned up down there, and it's just turning into a grind fest or whatever the hell is going down there. And there's just all kinds of sexual acts going down there. Everybody is getting everything. Everyone is breaking everything. People are punching holes in the wall. And then all of a sudden, the basement kind of has those windows on the top part of the ceiling, like on the top part of the wall towards the ceiling, and we see these blue and red lights shine in. And not everybody notices this because, there's like, different party lights going on and things like that. But you hear someone yell over everybody else. And then most people were just like, yeah, like they don't know what they're yelling about. They just yell back and start drinking more. But now this one guy, who was another one of my friends, his name was Zach. And I remember this, he was the star of our soccer team. He picks up a 40 and he throws it against the ground and yells, "Cops!" And this led to us taking the basement door, ripping it off its hinges, breaking it down, and stampeding all of us, about, I want to say, like 50 to 75 kids, just stampeding out this door. And at this point, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do with my flasks? Because I have, how many flasks did I have on? I had like 5 or 6 flasks on me. And at this point, I'm wondering, like, ditch or chug. So I took the one in my hand, and I just chugged the rest of it, and I put it back in my blazer pocket. And I'm running away, and I remembered that my friend, was going to be the designated driver, so he had the keys. So luckily, I get into their backyard, I meet up with my friend, and 2 other friends, and then 3 other people that we had met. And he unlocks the car door, and he hits the trunk button, and the trunk button opens up. And I don't know if you've seen the movie, is it Yes Man? No, Fun with Dick and Jane. It's Fun with Dick and Jane with Jim Carrey, where he's illegally coming across the border from Mexico, and like they open up the trunk of the car and all these Mexicans start flying in. That's exactly what happened here. I get into the front seat after we stampede through like this shitty wooden like picket fence. We stampede through it. I get into the front seat. 3 of my friends get into the back seat, and then hordes of people, I didn't get a count, but hordes of people come into the trunk. There are so many people coming into the trunk that the car is shaking up and down and actually bottoming out from all the people getting in the trunk. So we're flying down the road, and we're trying to get out of this neighborhood without running into any other cops or running into anything. And so we're trying to get out of here. And it was at this point that I blacked out, and I woke up in my friend that was driving at his front lawn, and I woke up in his front lawn to the sprinklers. And I have never had a more fun night than that. Apparently what happened is, so I'm told, is after that point, we got into the car, and we're going through this neighborhood, and then we get out of his neighborhood, but we're still like kind of afraid, so we go over to like a nearby like large store with a large parking lot. It's that point I polished off 2 more flasks, and then we got all those people like situated like out of the trunk and everything, and we left. We put them all inside of like the middle. Someone said that there were 4 people by the end of the thing in the trunk, but so we got them like in the middle, and some of them woke up in the car. Some of my friend actually woke up in his hammock in the back, and I woke up on his front lawn to the sprinklers along with my friend who was on the other side of the lawn. But anyway, this video went over in length, so I'm gonna put something else back there. I don't know what it is at this time, but hopefully it's enjoyable to watch if you're even watching this video. But thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like. I really would appreciate the like. It helps me out a lot. And also please subscribe. And thank you guys for watching.